Nathan Cole stood in the center of the massive chamber, looking up at the strange beings that floated around him. The room was bigger than any stadium on Earth, with walls that seemed to stretch forever into darkness. Blue light came from everywhere and nowhere, making everything glow with an eerie shine. He had never seen anything like the creatures before him. Some looked like giant insects with too many arms. Others were made of what appeared to be living crystal that changed colors as they moved. A few resembled clouds of gas that somehow held their shape and spoke without mouths. Admiral Lisa Harper stood to his right, her military uniform crisp and her hand resting near her sidearm. She had been against this meeting from the start, but Nathan knew they had to come. Dr. Robert Kane stood on his left, constantly adjusting his glasses as he tried to take notes on everything he saw. Ambassador Claire Watson completed their small group, her diplomatic training keeping her face calm even though Nathan could see the worry in her eyes. "Welcome, humans," said a voice that seemed to come from the air itself. The largest being in the chamber moved forward. It looked like a tree made of blue crystal, towering at least 12 feet tall. Its voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "I am Vexthara, speaker for the Galactic Council. You stand before representatives of 12 civilized species." Nathan nodded politely. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. I am President Nathan Cole of Earth." Vexthara's crystal body flickered with different colors. "Yes, we know who you are. We have been watching your species for some time. Your people have finally developed the technology to leave your small world. This brings you to our attention." "We're honored by your attention," Nathan replied carefully. "You should be," came a new voice. This one belonged to a creature that looked like a giant mantis with silver skin. "Few species receive such consideration from the Council. I am War Commander Kethmore of the Zephyrian Empire." Nathan felt Lisa tense beside him. The military title wasn't lost on any of them. Vexthara continued, "Your species shows promise, but also great danger. Humans are aggressive. You fight among yourselves constantly. You destroy your own environment. You create weapons of mass destruction. This concerns us." "We're working on those problems," Nathan said. "Are you?" asked another council member. This one looked like a jellyfish floating in the air, its transparent body pulsing with soft light. "Your species has been at war for your entire recorded history. You have enough nuclear weapons to destroy your planet several times over. You show no signs of changing." Dr. Kane stepped forward slightly. "If I may, we've actually made great progress in recent decades. Wars are less common now. We're cleaning up our environment. We're learning to work together." The jellyfish creature made a sound like water bubbling. "Decades. You measure progress in decades. Most species think in centuries or millennia. You are still children playing with dangerous toys." Vexthara's colors shifted to a deeper blue. "This is why the Council has decided to extend an offer to humanity. You will be given the chance to join the galactic community, but under certain conditions." "What conditions?" Nathan asked, though he had a feeling he wouldn't like the answer. "First, you must surrender all military weapons, every gun, every ship, every explosive device. The Council will provide for your protection." Lisa's hand moved closer to her weapon. Nathan caught her eye and shook his head slightly. "Second," Vexthara continued, "you must accept oversight from the Zephyrian Empire. They will guide your development and ensure you do not threaten other species." "Threaten other species?" Nathan asked. "We've never even met other species before." "Today," War Commander Kethmore clicked his mandibles together in what might have been laughter. "Yet you already show the signs. Your first instinct when meeting us was to bring weapons. Your military leader's hand moves toward her gun even now. You are a warrior species, and warrior species must be controlled." "And if we refuse?" Nathan asked quietly. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then Vexthara spoke, her voice somehow colder than before. "Then you will be classified as a threat to galactic peace. The Council has the right and duty to protect civilized species from dangerous ones." "Meaning?" Nathan pressed. "Meaning your major cities will be destroyed from orbit," Kethmore said with obvious pleasure. "Your military bases will be eliminated. Your population will be reduced to a manageable level. It is not personal, human Nathan. It is simply necessary. Nathan felt his jaw tighten. Around him, his small team stayed perfectly still, but he could feel their anger. These aliens were talking about murdering billions of people as if it was just another day at the office. How long do we have to decide? He asked. 72 hours, Vexthara said. That should be sufficient time for your leaders to understand the situation and make the logical choice. Nathan looked around the chamber again. The alien beings watched him with what he assumed was curiosity. They seemed to think the matter was already settled. They expected him to return to Earth, panic, and surrender completely. He took a deep breath and smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. I appreciate your offer, Nathan said calmly, but I think there's been a misunderstanding about who we are. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the background humming of alien technology seemed to stop. A misunderstanding? Vexthara asked, her colors shifting to what Nathan guessed was confusion. Yes, Nathan said, his voice carrying clearly through the massive space. You seem to think we're some kind of primitive species that will just roll over when threatened. You think we'll give up our freedom because you have bigger ships and older technology. You will surrender because the alternative is extinction, Kethmore said flatly. Nathan's smile grew wider. Maybe, but let me ask you something first. Have any of you ever actually fought humans before? The question hung in the air like a physical thing. The alien beings looked at each other, and Nathan could sense something like uncertainty for the first time. We have observed your conflicts, Vexthara said carefully. We know your capabilities. Do you? Nathan asked. Because I don't think you do. I don't think you understand what you're dealing with at all. He took a step forward, and several of the alien beings moved back slightly. We'll give you our answer soon enough, Nathan continued. But first, you might want to consider something. We're not just any species, we're humans, and humans don't surrender. We don't give up our freedom. And we really don't like being threatened. The silence stretched on for long seconds. Then Nathan nodded politely. Thank you for your time. We'll be in touch. As they walked out of the chamber, Nathan could hear the aliens beginning to talk among themselves in urgent tones. Admiral Harper moved close to him. Sir, what are we going to do? They have ships we can't even see, technology we can't match. Nathan's expression was grim but determined. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity's home. Lisa, we're going to remind them why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. How? By being exactly what they accused? U.S. of being by being human. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, staring at the message screen in front of him. The encrypted transmission had come directly from Earth Command, bypassing all normal channels. His hands shook slightly as he read it. For the third time, Operation Homecoming is a go. Show them what we're capable of. Authorization, Col Alpha 7. Jake looked around his bridge crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. These men and women had trained for months without knowing what they were training for. Now they were about to find out. All stations prepare for combat operations, Jake announced. This is not a drill. Lieutenant Amy Foster, his communications officer, looked up from her station. Sir, should I contact the fleet? Negative. They already know. Just follow your orders and trust the plan. 2,000 miles below, buried deep in the Colorado mountains, General Patricia Bell walked through corridors that officially did not exist. The Cheyenne Mountain facility had been expanded over the past year, with new levels carved so deep into the rock that they were closer to the Earth's core than the surface dot. She found Dr. Samuel Brooks in Laboratory 7, making final adjustments to a device that looked like a cross between a computer and a piece of modern art. Cables and circuits covered every surface, and the air hummed with energy that made her teeth ache. How long until it's ready? She asked. Samuel looked up, his face tired but excited. 6 hours, maybe less. We're running the final calibration now. Good. The President is about to give the aliens our answer, and we need to be ready to back up his words. Samuel nodded and turned back to his work. Around him, dozens of technicians worked on similar devices. Each one represented months of research, testing, and preparation. Each one was based on technology that humanity was not supposed to possess. Back in the alien council chamber, the strange beings had gathered again. They floated and walked and oozed into their positions, clearly expecting to hear humanity's surrender. President Nathan Cole stood in the same spot as before, but this time he was flanked by different people. Colonel Steve Martinez stood to his right, his uniform bearing decorations from conflicts the aliens had never heard of. Intelligence Director Helen Price stood to his left, her eyes constantly scanning the chamber as if she was memorizing every detail. "Honored council members," Nathan began, his voice carrying clearly through the massive space. "We have carefully considered your generous offer. After thorough discussion with our military leadership, our scientific community, and the people of Earth, we have reached our decision." The alien beings leaned forward, crystal bodies flickering with anticipation. War Commander Kethmore clicked his mandibles together in what Nathan had learned was satisfaction. "The answer is no," the chamber erupted in chaos. Alien voices rose in anger and disbelief. Several beings began flashing bright colors while others made sounds like breaking glass or rushing water. Vexthara's crystal form blazed with red light. Then, "You choose extinction," she declared, her voice cutting through the noise. "The Zephyrian fleet will reduce your cities to ash. Your species will serve as an example to others who might defy the Council." Nathan waited for the noise to die down. When he spoke again, his voice was calm and conversational. "Will they destroy us, I mean? Because I have to tell you, I don't think they will. You doubt our power?" Kethmore asked, rising to his full height. "Your power?" "No, your ability to use it against us?" "Absolutely." Admiral Lisa Harper stepped forward, activating a small device she pulled from her pocket. Suddenly, the air above Nathan's head filled with images. Three-dimensional pictures that showed star charts, ship positions, and technical readouts in perfect detail. "The Zephyrian Third Fleet," she announced, "currently positioned at the edge of our solar system. 47 ships, including the Dreadnoughts Void Crusher and Death's Edge, crew complement, approximately 50,000 beings." The aliens stared at the display in shock. The information was completely accurate, down to the smallest details. Information they had never shared with humans. "That's impossible," Kethmore whispered. "You cannot have such knowledge." "Can't we?" Nathan asked. "Helen, would you like to show them what else we know?" Helen Price stepped forward with her own device. The air filled with new images, personnel files, ship designs, military plans, personal communications between alien commanders. "War Commander Kethmore," she said, reading from the floating text. "Hatched on Zephyr Prime, Cycle 2847. Graduated from the Imperial War College with honors. Married to Nest Mother Shelva. 3 offspring, currently attending school on the colony world of Kepler 7. Kethmore's mandibles clicked frantically. "How do you know this?" "This information is classified beyond your reach." "Is it?" Nathan asked. "Because we also know about your supply lines, your fuel depots, your communication networks. We know where every ship is, where every base is located, and how to reach them." The chamber fell silent except for the humming of alien technology. Nathan could see fear in the creatures around him. Real fear, perhaps for the first time in their lives. "What you don't understand," Nathan continued, "is that we've been preparing for this conversation for quite some time. We knew you were out there. We knew you would come. And we knew exactly how you would react when you met us." "Impossible," Vexthara said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Is it? Let me tell you what's going to happen next. Your fleet commander is going to order an attack on Earth. He's going to do it because he's proud and angry and because he thinks we're bluffing. And when that happens, you're going to discover something very important about humans." Nathan's voice grew harder, more dangerous. "You're going to learn that we don't make threats. We make promises. And I'm promising you this, if your ships move against Earth, if you harm even one human being, we will show you what humans are really capable of when someone threatens our home." Colonel Martinez activated his own device. The air filled with images of ships, human ships. Sleek, deadly vessels that looked nothing like the crude rockets the aliens expected. The UES Retribution, Martinez said. The UES Defiance. The UES Liberty. 43 ships total, with more coming online every day. Each one equipped with technology that your scientists said was impossible. Where did you get this technology? Vextara demanded. Nathan smiled. That's the wrong question. The right question is, if we have this technology, what else do we have that you don't know about? He took a step forward and the massive alien beings actually moved back. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? It's not our weapons. It's not our technology. It's that we never, ever give up. You can threaten us, attack us, try to destroy us, but we will keep fighting until there's nothing left. And if you push us too far, we won't just defend ourselves. Nathan's voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but every being in the chamber heard every word. We'll come for you, all of you. We'll bring the war to your worlds, your homes, your families. We'll show you what happens when you threaten humanity's children. The silence stretched on for long seconds, then Nathan nodded politely. You have your answer. I suggest you withdraw your fleets immediately. Because if you don't, you're going to discover that humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And by then, it will be too late. As the human delegation walked out of the chamber, Nathan could hear the aliens beginning to argue among themselves. Some wanted to attack immediately. Others counseled caution. A few seemed to be suggesting retreat. Colonel Martinez moved close to Nathan as they walked. "Sir, what if they call our bluff?" Nathan's expression was grim but determined. Then we show them it wasn't a bluff, Steve. We show them what happens when you threaten humanity. War Commander Kethmer stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Void Crusher, staring at the blue planet that hung in the darkness ahead. His massive dreadnought was the pride of the Zephyrian fleet, a ship that had never known defeat in over 200 battles. Primitive creatures, he muttered to his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Veltar. They think they can frighten us with their crude displays and stolen information. They will learn the price of defying the Council. Veltar shifted nervously beside him. Sir, perhaps we should consider their warning. How did they know so much about our fleet positions? Kethmar's mandibles clicked in anger. Lucky guesses. Spies, perhaps, it matters not. No species has ever successfully resisted the Council's will. These humans will be no different. He turned to his weapons officer. Signal the fleet. We advance on Earth immediately. Target their largest cities first. Make it quick but visible. The other species need to see what happens to those who defy us. Light years away, in the hidden depths of space, Commander Lisa Grant watched the alien fleet begin to move. Her ship, the Ghost Rider, hung invisible in the void, its hull covered in technology that bent light around it like water around a stone. They're taking the bait, she reported to Admiral Harper on Earth. The Zephyrian fleet is moving toward Earth, just as predicted. Good, came Harper's reply. Begin Phase 1. Let's show them what happens when you threaten human families. Lisa turned to her crew. You heard the Admiral. Time to introduce ourselves to our alien friends. The Ghost Rider moved through space without making a sound or leaving a trace. Its engines used principles that human scientists had learned from, studying crashed alien probes over the past decade. But the humans had improved on the original design, making it better, faster, and completely undetectable. On the bridge of the Void Crusher, Kethmer was studying tactical displays when his communications officer suddenly straightened in alarm. Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from inside the ship. Inside the ship? That's impossible. Check your equipment. Sir, the equipment is fine. The signal is definitely coming from within our own hull. Kethmore moved to the communications. Station, show me. The display lit up with an image that made his blood run cold. It was his nestmate Shelva, sitting in their home on Zephyr Prime. She looked directly at the camera and spoke. Kethmore, my love, I know you can hear me. The humans have sent me a message. They want you to know that they could reach me any time they wanted. They could reach our children. They could reach anyone in the fleet. They're giving you one chance to turn around and go home." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "How is this possible?" Veltar whispered before Kethmer could answer. More transmissions began coming in. Personal messages for individual crew members, family photos, military records. That should have been impossible to access. Private communications between officers that had never been sent outside the ship, across the fleet. The same thing was happening. Every ship was receiving personal messages for their crew. The humans weren't just watching them. They were inside their systems, reading their private files, accessing their personal lives. "This is impossible," Kethmore said, but his voice was shaking now. "No species has this kind of technology." That's when the second phase began. Captain Tony Rodriguez, commanding the human fleet's main force, received his orders directly from Admiral Harper. "All ships execute Phase 2, show them what human engineering can do." What happened next would be talked about in alien military academies for generations. The human fleet didn't just appear on the Zephyrian sensors. It materialized out of nothing, as if the empty space around them had suddenly given birth to warships. The UES Retribution, under Captain Maria Santos, led the charge. Her ship was twice the size of the largest Zephyrian dreadnought, but it moved like a fighter craft, spinning and dancing through space with impossible grace. "Sir," the Zephyrian tactical officer reported, his voice high with panic. "We're reading 43 human ships? They just appeared out of nowhere." "Fire on them," Kethmore ordered. "All weapons." The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams that could melt mountains, missiles that could crack planets, weapons that had conquered a dozen star systems. All of it struck the human ships and simply disappeared as if the attacks had never happened. "Report?" Kethmore demanded. "Sir, our weapons are having no effect. It's like they're not even there." That's when Captain Santos demonstrated humanity's newest weapon. The Retribution's gravity manipulator came online, creating a localized field that turned the laws of physics into suggestions. The massive Zephyrian cruiser Stormbringer suddenly found itself moving backward, its own engines working against it. "What's happening?" The Stormbringer's captain screamed over the communications channel. "We're caught in some kind of gravity." "Field," came the reply. "We can't break free." More human ships joined the demonstration. The Hughes Defiance, commanded by Captain Danny Foster, showed off its matter displacement technology. Zephyrian ships watched in horror as their own weapons fire was redirected back at them, their missiles turning around in mid-flight to strike their own hulls. The UES Liberty, under Captain Jake Morrison, demonstrated the most terrifying weapon of all. It didn't attack the aliens. Instead, it began to speak to them. "Attention, Zephyrian fleet," came Jake's voice over all their communication channels. "This is Captain Morrison of the United Earth Forces. You are currently surrounded by technology that your science says is impossible. Your weapons cannot harm. Your shields cannot protect you. Your engines cannot carry you to safety." Kethmar stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. The human ships were everywhere, moving in patterns that shouldn't have been possible, using weapons that defied understanding. "This is Admiral Harper to all Zephyrian vessels," came a new transmission. "You now have a choice. Retreat immediately and tell your council what you have seen here today. Or we can show you what happens when you threaten humanity's children." Kethmar's pride warred with his survival instinct. He had never retreated from a battle. He had never shown weakness to an enemy. But he had also never faced anything like this. "Sir," Veltar said quietly, "perhaps we should consider their offer." "Never," Kethmar snarled. "We are Zephyrian warriors. We do not run from primitive creatures, no matter what tricks they may have learned." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target their flagship. Full power. Show them that the Zephyrian Empire does not yield." The Void Crusher fired every weapon it had at the UES Liberty. The energy discharge was so powerful that it lit up the darkness of space like a small sun. For a moment, the human ship disappeared. In the blinding light, When the light faded, the Liberty was still there, completely undamaged. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communications again, and this time it was different. Colder, more dangerous. You had your chance, Commander. You chose to attack us. You chose to threaten Earth. Now you get to learn what that means. What happened next was over in 17 minutes. The human fleet moved through the Zephyrian force like sharks through minnows. They didn't just destroy ships. They disabled them with surgical precision, leaving the crews alive but helpless. The Void Crusher, pride of the Zephyrian Navy, found itself trapped in a gravity field so powerful that its hull began to buckle. Kethmor watched his tactical displays as his fleet was systematically dismantled around him. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a message from the human flagship." "Put it through." Captain Morrison's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. "War Commander Kethmor, this is your final warning. Order your surviving ships to retreat immediately. Return to your council. Tell them what you have seen here today. Tell them that humans keep their promises." Kethmor looked around his bridge. His officers were watching him, waiting for orders. His ship was dying around him. His fleet was scattered and broken. "And if I refuse?" Morrison's expression didn't change. "Then you won't be going home to see your family again." "The choice is yours, Commander, but choose quickly. My patience is running out." For the first time in his long military career, War Commander Kethmor of the Zephyrian Empire gave the order to retreat. As his surviving ships fled toward the edge of the solar system, he sent a message back to the Council that would change the galaxy forever. The humans are not what we thought they were. They are something far more dangerous. We have awakened something that should have been left sleeping. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began 3 hours after. War Commander Kethmor's defeated fleet limped back to Council space. Representatives from 12 species gathered in the Great Chamber, their voices rising in anger and fear. Speaker Vextara's crystal form blazed with red light as she addressed the assembly. "The human threat is greater than we calculated. They possess technology that should not exist. They destroyed an entire Zephyrian battle fleet without losing a single ship." The jellyfish-like representative of the Aquarii floated higher in agitation. "How is this possible? Our intelligence said they were a primitive species barely capable of spaceflight." "Our intelligence was wrong," Kethmor said from his position at the War Council table. His mandibles clicked nervously as he spoke. "They have weapons that bend gravity itself, ships that appear from nowhere, technology that makes our most advanced systems look like children's toys." Council member Zarpik of the Nexari stood on, his 6 insect-like legs, his wings buzzing with anxiety. "Then we must strike immediately, with everything we have. If they are allowed to grow stronger, they could threaten all of us." "Agreed," said the crystalline form of Vexthara. "We will assemble the largest fleet in Council history. Every species will contribute ships. The humans will face the combined might of galactic civilization." On Earth, Director Helen Price sat in her command center, monitoring the communications traffic flowing between alien worlds. Banks of computers translated and analyzed thousands of messages per minute, giving humanity a real-time view of the galaxy's response to their demonstration. "Sir," she said into her secure communication device, "they're mobilizing everything. 7 species are committing their entire fleets. The Nexari are pulling ships from their border defenses. The Aquarii are bringing their deep space battle groups. Even the crystalline hegemony is contributing vessels." President Nathan Cole's voice came through clearly. "How long until they arrive?" "Best estimate is 36 hours, maybe less if they push their engines hard." "And our preparations?" Helen smiled grimly. "Dr. Brooks says the lunar facility is ready. Commander Wright reports that all defensive positions are operational. And Admiral Harper says the fleet is prepared for Phase 3. Good. What about our other assets?" "The ancients are ready, sir. Elder Zarthok says his people have waited a long time for this moment." On the hidden side of the moon, Commander Paul Wright walked through corridors carved deep into the lunar rock. The facility here was humanity's greatest secret, built over the past 5 years with help that most humans didn't even know existed. He found Elder Zarthok in the central chamber, a being so old that he remembered when the current Galactic Council species were just learning to use fire. The ancient looked like a cross between a tree and a spider, with silver bark-like skin and 8 limbs that moved with careful precision. "The Council fleets are moving," Paul reported. Zarthok's voice came through a translation device that hurt human ears to listen to, as we expected. "They fear what they do not understand. They seek to destroy what threatens their power. Are your people ready?" "We have been ready for 1,000 years, human Paul. We have waited for a species like yours to emerge. A species with the courage to stand against tyranny." Paul nodded. "Why us? Why humans?" The ancient's alien features shifted in what might have been a smile. "Because you do not give up. Because you protect the weak. Because when someone threatens your young, you become the most dangerous creatures in the universe." In the depths of space, the largest armada ever assembled was taking shape. Ships from 7 different species converged on rally points throughout the galaxy. Sleek Nexari interceptors joined massive Aquari battlecruisers. Crystalline hegemony vessels that looked like living diamonds flew alongside the rebuilt remnants of the Zephyrian fleet. At the center of this vast force was the Council's ultimate weapon, the mobile space station Judgment, an artificial world bristling with enough firepower to crack planets, commanded by Admiral Vexthara herself. "Over 4,000 ships," reported her tactical officer, a nervous Aquari whose tentacles twitched constantly. "The largest fleet in recorded history." "Good," Vexthara said. "The humans will see the futility of resistance. They will surrender or be destroyed." The fleet moved toward Earth like a storm of metal and energy, confident in their overwhelming numbers and superior firepower. They had conquered hundreds of worlds. They had brought order to chaos across the galaxy. A single primitive planet could not stand against them. They were wrong. The first sign that something was different came when they reached the edge of the solar system. Their sensors, which should have detected any human ships from light years away, showed nothing. Empty space, no defenses. No fleet waiting to meet them. "Where are they?" demanded Admiral Glektar of the Nexari. "Our intelligence said they had over 40 ships." "Perhaps they fled," suggested War Commander Kethmore. "Perhaps they realized the hopelessness of their situation." "Humans do not flee," came a new voice over the communication channels. It was President Nathan Cole, broadcasting from Earth. "We're right here, waiting for you." "Surrender now," Vexthara replied, "and your deaths will be quick. Continue this foolishness, and we will make examples of your cities." Nathan's response sent chills through every alien commander in the fleet. "You came to our home. You threatened our families. You demanded our freedom. We tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen. So now, as promised, we're bringing the war to you." That's when the human fleet appeared. It didn't emerge from hyperspace or decloak from hiding. It simply came into existence around the alien armada, as if the universe itself had decided to create warships from pure thought. Hundreds of vessels, including ships that dwarfed even the mighty Judgment. At their head flew the UES Defiance, a kilometer-long battleship that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of midnight. Captain Danny Foster stood on its bridge, watching the alien fleet with calm satisfaction. "All ships," came Admiral Harper's voice over the communication channels, "execute Operation Nemesis. Show them what happens when you attack humanity." The battle that followed would be remembered throughout the galaxy as the day the old order died. The human ships moved through space like living things, dancing around alien weapons fire with impossible grace. Their own weapons seemed to rewrite the laws of physics with every shot. The UES Valkyrie, under Captain Rachel Turner, demonstrated humanity's mastery of dimensional technology. When a squadron of Nexari fighters attacked her ship, she simply opened a portal in space and redirected their weapons fire back at them through a hole in reality itself. The UES Phoenix, commanded by Captain Ben Richards, showed off its temporal displacement field. Alien missiles fired at the ship arrived before they were launched, confusing targeting systems and causing enemy weapons to destroy each other, but the most terrifying demonstration came from the UES Defiance itself. When Admiral Vexthara ordered the Judgment to fire its planet-killer weapon at Earth, Captain Foster did something that should have been impossible. He caught the energy beam. The Defiance extended some kind of field that absorbed the massive discharge, held it for a moment like captured lightning, then sent it back at the alien fleet with twice the original power. 3 crystalline hegemony cruisers simply ceased to exist. Impossible, Vexthara whispered, watching her most powerful weapon turned against her own forces. Nothing is impossible, came Nathan Cole's voice over the communication channels. You just have to be human enough to try. The alien fleet, despite its massive numbers, found itself outmatched at every turn. Human ships appeared and disappeared at will. Their weapons passed through enemy shields like they weren't there. Their defenses turned the aliens' own firepower against them. In 6 hours of fighting, the Council lost over half their ships, not destroyed but disabled, their crews alive but helpless. The humans were being careful not to kill unnecessarily, which somehow made their demonstration even more terrifying. Admiral, the Aquari tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. We're receiving a transmission from the human flagship. Captain Foster's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. Admiral Vexthara, this is your final warning. Surrender now, and your surviving crews will be allowed to return home. Continue fighting, and we'll show you what humans are really capable of when we stop holding back. Vexthara looked around at her command center. Alien officers from 7 species stared at her, waiting for orders. Her mighty fleet was scattered and broken. Her ultimate weapon had been turned against her. For the first time in her long life, the Speaker of the Galactic Council gave the order to surrender. As the alien fleet powered down its weapons and prepared to retreat, Nathan Cole made one final transmission that would echo across the galaxy. The old council is finished. Your time of ruling through fear and force is over. We're going to build something better. Something where every species has a voice and no one rules through terror. And if anyone tries to return to the old ways, they'll answer to humanity. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy was a different place. Ships from dozens of species arrived at Earth every day, not as conquerors but as visitors. Some came to learn. Others came to trade. Many came simply because they were curious about the species that had defeated the Galactic Council in a single battle. President Nathan Cole stood in the new council chambers that had been built in orbit around Earth. The station was massive, with sections designed for every type of being imaginable. Air-breathing creatures had their areas, while water-dwellers had their own flooded chambers. Even energy beings had special containment fields, where they could exist comfortably. But the most important change wasn't the building. It was what happened inside it. The vote is unanimous, announced Dr. Robert Kane, who now served as the secretary of the new Galactic Federation. The Zephyrian home system will be granted full membership with the same rights and protections as every other member world. Around the chamber, representatives from 43 different species watched as former War Commander Kethmore stepped forward. He no longer wore military decorations. Instead, he wore the simple robes of a civilian diplomat. On behalf of the Zephyrian people, he said, his voice translated into dozens of languages, I accept membership in the Federation. We pledge to uphold the principles of freedom, equality, and peaceful cooperation. Nathan nodded approvingly. It had taken months of careful negotiation to reach this point. The Zephyrians had been the most aggressive members of the old council, but they had also been the quickest to adapt to the new reality. Welcome to the Federation, Nathan said. Your people have earned their place here through honest effort and genuine change. In another part of the station, Admiral Lisa Harper walked through the military command center with General Patricia Bell. The walls were covered with displays showing ship positions throughout the galaxy. But unlike the old council's military installations, this one was designed for protection, not conquest. How are the patrol routes working out? Nathan asked through their communication devices. Better than expected, Lisa replied. We've stopped 3 separate attempts at piracy this week alone. The trade routes are safer than they've been in decades. Any problems with the new recruits? Patricia smiled. The Nexari pilots are incredible. They're natural fighters, but they've adapted well to our rules of engagement. The Aquari engineers are revolutionizing our ship designs. Even some of the former Crystalline Hegemony warriors have joined up. The Federation Defense Force was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of being controlled by a single species, it was truly integrated. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels, their crews working together to protect trade routes and respond to emergencies. Captain Rachel Turner, now commanding the patrol ship UES Unity, exemplified this new approach. Her crew included humans, reformed Zephyrians, Nexari pilots, and even a few of the crystal beings who had once served the old council. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported her Nexari sensor operator, Lieutenant Scrixival. It's a distress call from a civilian transport. What's their situation? Rachel asked. Pirates, Captain. 3 ships, probably rogue Zephyrians who haven't accepted the new government. Rachel nodded. Set course to intercept. Signal the escort ships to follow our lead. The Unity's response was swift and efficient. The pirate ships, expecting to prey on helpless merchants, found themselves facing a coordinated defense that included species working together as equals. The fight was over in minutes, with the pirates surrendering rather than face destruction. This is Captain Turner to the merchant vessel, Rachel transmitted. You're safe now. Do you need medical assistance? No injuries, came the grateful reply. Thank you, Federation ship. Thank you for protecting us. Back on the orbital station, Nathan met with Elder Zarthok in a specially designed chamber that could accommodate the Ancient's unique needs. The old being had become one of Nathan's most trusted advisors, sharing wisdom gathered over thousands of years. The transformation proceeds well, Zarthok said through his translation device. More species join the Federation every week. Trade is flourishing. The border conflicts that plagued this galaxy for centuries have ended. But, Nathan asked, sensing hesitation, there are still those who resist change. The hegemony remnants plot in the outer systems. Some Zephyrian military units refuse to accept civilian authority. The Void Hunters continue their raids from beyond the Galactic Rim. Nathan nodded. We knew this wouldn't be easy. Change never is, but we're making progress. Indeed. Your species has shown wisdom in victory. You could have conquered the galaxy, but instead you chose to liberate it. In the civilian sections of the station, a different kind of revolution was taking place. Markets bustled with traders from dozens of worlds. Scientists from different species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Artists created works that blended cultures in ways never seen before. Commander Paul Wright, now Director of Cultural Exchange, watched a group of human children playing with young aliens in one of the station's parks. The kids didn't see differences in species or biology. They just saw friends. It's working, he said to Ambassador Claire Watson, who had become the Federation's chief diplomatic officer. The next generation won't even remember the old ways. Some of them will, Claire replied, and that's important. We need to remember what we're fighting against. We need to remember why this matters. In the depths of space, the work continued. Captain Danny Foster, commanding the UES Defiance, led a task force to the far reaches of the galaxy where the old Council's influence had created conflicts that had raged for decades. The Altarians and the Rigel Collective have agreed to peace talks, reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Amy Santos. Both sides are requesting Federation mediation. Good, Danny said. Set course for the neutral zone. Let's see if we can end another war. The Defiance and its escort ships represented everything the Federation stood for. Overwhelming power used only to protect, not to conquer. Strength applied with wisdom and restraint. The willingness to fight when necessary, but the preference for peace whenever possible. As they traveled through hyperspace, Danny reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had been unknown to the galaxy. Now they were leading the greatest transformation in galactic history. The peace talks were successful. Two species that had been fighting for over a century agreed to end their conflict and join the Federation. Their worlds, once battlefields, would become centers of trade and cooperation. Another success story, Danny reported to Admiral Harper. The Federation now includes 67 member species. Excellent work, Lisa replied, but stay alert. Intelligence reports suggest the Void Hunters are planning something big. The Void Hunters were the last major threat to galactic peace. A nomadic species that lived beyond the galactic rim. They had refused all attempts at communication and continued to raid Federation worlds. Unlike the former Council species, they seemed genuinely alien, with motivations that no one could understand. But even that problem had a solution in development. Dr. Samuel Brooks, working with scientists from 12 different species, was developing new communication technologies that might finally allow meaningful contact with the hunters. If we can talk to them, he explained to President Cole during their weekly briefing, we might be able to find a peaceful solution. Every species has something they want, something they need. We just have to figure out what that is. Nathan stood at the observation deck of the orbital station. Looking out at the traffic flowing around Earth, ships from across the galaxy came and went in an endless stream. Trade vessels, diplomatic couriers, scientific expeditions, cultural exchanges. The space around humanity's homeworld had become the busiest intersection in the galaxy. Any regrets? Asked Colonel Steve Martinez, who had become Nathan's personal security chief. Nathan considered the question. About fighting the Council? No. About the way we did it? Sometimes. We could have been more diplomatic initially. Maybe avoided some of the bloodshed. They gave us no choice, sir. They threatened to destroy our cities, kill our people. We did what we had to do. I know, but that doesn't make it easy. A new ship was approaching the station, its hull bearing the markings of a species Nathan didn't recognize. Another first contact? Another opportunity to expand the Federation's reach? Sir, came Intelligence Director Helen Price's voice over his communicator, we're receiving a signal from the Andromeda Galaxy. It appears to be a message of greeting, Nathan smiled. The galaxy was changing, and apparently the universe was taking notice. Patch it through to the council chambers, he said. Let's see what our neighbors have to say. As he walked toward the chambers where representatives from dozens of species worked together to build a better future, Nathan reflected on humanity's journey. They had started as an unknown species on a single world. Now they were leading a galactic civilization based on freedom, equality, and cooperation. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts to resolve, problems to solve, and challenges to face, but for the first time in galactic history, those challenges were being met by species working together as equals, rather than subjects bowing to masters. The human president smiled as he entered